Welcome to Wednesday's Vibes with Izzi Meditates. I am a mindfulness meditation practitioner, and every Wednesday, every other Wednesday, and sometimes once a month on a Wednesday, I come on and I have these awesome conversations with people who are brought to me, connected with me, and we have these wonderful discussions. And so today I have Vidya, who is a transformation doula. Hello. I am so excited that you are here today.
We do.
Yes.
This is
Yes,
any
we have.
opportunity to talk woo-woo weird stuff, right?
I know. I love conversation. The last conversation we had was probably about 2.5 hours.
But we're not going to do that to them today.
Yes, it was 2.5 hours, and it was the most awesome conversation. And it's so funny because your name is Vidya, and usually when I connect with people, I like to give them nicknames. And so I was like, I'm going to call her V. I love her.
So since we are going to be, you haven't talked about the topic for today, so I'll let you introduce that and
Yes.
stuff, and then I'll talk about what your nickname connects with the topic for today.
Ooh, very nice. Very nice. So today we are on the awesome topic, a topic that I love and is very connected with my heart, and it is synchronicities. But before we get onto the topic, I'd like to ask you, Vidya, can you tell the audience, our family, what you do and where you're from?
Oh, so I'm going to actually start with not what do I do, but who I am, because I am in some ways drives what I express out into the world. So my doing is underpinned by my beingness, right? Yes. So I am a transformation doula / life adventure guide. And in layperson terms, that really is, it's transformative life coach is probably the closest late term that comes to it. Yes. I personally prefer doula or guide because that is really what I do. I facilitate or I guide people through their deep shadow work, personal growth, and transformation journeys using sort of my tools, which is I have 5 major tools: active listening, nice, intuitive inquiry, evocative coaching, tarot, and Akashic records. So these are the 5 main tools in my toolbox, and I will draw from others because it's a boutique experience. It's customized. I don't have a cookie cutter. Right. This is what you get kind of thing. Everything is scaffolded and customized to whatever serves you and your needs in the moment. So that's why I think of it as facilitation. It's really like you're Edmund Hillary, and if you're ready to, climb that Mount Everest of personal growth and transformation, I'm your Tenzing Norgay.
Right. I love that. And I could feel that the last time we talked. I felt like I was being guided through all these different, we were like, oh, and this happened and this happened. So I love that. I love that very much. Yes. So our topic of synchronicities.
Yeah.
This is my favorite. And, I've talked to some people and they don't quite understand. And so I'll give a little bit of synchronicities that have happened with me many years ago. I want to say about 6 years ago, I started noticing like numbers all over the place. And they were, at once I saw, like 333. I'm like, oh, wow, that's cute. Some people go play the lotto if you see these numbers, And then it was like, okay, I just saw it 5 minutes ago. Now I'm seeing it again. And then, it's on a clock or it's on a car, and it's the gas pump. My gas came up to that much when gas was really super cheap. and so I began to like research and, wonder like, what are these numbers? And I would record them because I didn't want my family to think that something was going on with me. I'm like, I see these numbers all the time. Yeah. And then I became fond of them. And then I developed understanding, and then I began to appreciate them. And then I began to follow them and understand why they are popping up. And so that is why we're talking about this today, because I get so excited. And we had our conversation around that. So what is your definition of synchronicity?
So before I get to my definition of synchronicity, because to be very honest, it has actually, synchronicity, the way you just described it, has the meaning I ascribe to that has actually shifted a little bit. So I'm going to kind of back up. You said research, and I'm a scholar researcher. So
Yes.
I have to go back to the source, which in this case is Carl Jung, because he is the one who actually coined the word synchronicity.
Yes.
And so I'm just literally going to read this sort of definition that I found on a wonderful article online, not like a blog post or something, an actual vetted piece. It's an actual PDF. And so basically the way Jung approached it was as an acausal connecting principle. And this is important. It's an acausal. There's no cause and effect happening here.
Right.
So it's an acausal connecting principle where internal psychological principles are linked to the external world events by meaningful coincidences rather than causal change. So
wow.
Let's take that in for a minute, because what jumped out at me initially was this was key, because the word coincidence. So we're really talking about serendipity here.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Synchronicity is about serendipity. It's not a cause and effect thing. In some ways, it can be construed as very random. Hey, something happened, and then boom, look, that. So it's mirroring, but there's no obvious way to connect the two events. Right. That's why it's acausal.
Right.
So, much like you, in recent years, I too began to see numbers, much like you, palindrome numbers, straight flushes, and things like that. Yeah. And because I was, in the sort of metaphysical consciousness expansion, spirituality sort of communities, typically they are called synchronicities, like, oh, I saw a number sync or whatever. Right. What I'm realizing now, though, is that, at least for me personally, this is completely my own meaning, right? Yeah. I'm getting away from calling them synchronicity. I'm actually beginning to see them as messages. They're not so much synchronicity as they're messages. So as an example, the other day, it was nonstop. I think I saw 555, 444. I was woken up at 444. Then I saw 555, 818, 919, 707, 313, 333, 22, 22, 22, then 22, 22. And, when you get that barrage like that, it's not a synchronicity anymore. I'm just sitting here going, what? Hold on, stop. What? So then I realized that what it is really messages from the divine, the cosmos, the force, if you're a Star Wars fan, the ether, whatever you want to call it, whatever your term for it, it really doesn't matter. Yeah. It's angels. I like, the archangels, whoever. It's them saying, hey, are you paying attention? Hey, are you paying attention? Hey, pay attention. Right. And so it's that aspect of it that I have begun to lean into and kind of go. Sometimes it's just when it's a barrage like that, it really just is, don't get distracted by whatever is happening at the level of circumstance and fact in your external world. Just know that you are on the right track, even if what is happening there is very dissonant. Yes. Or it's creating turmoil or turbulence or something like that. So my meaning has shifted a little bit in that sense. So I see them more as messages, conscious messages from the universe talking to me, rather than this acausal set of serendipitous events. Yeah. That said, I said I would connect your nickname for me as a synchronicity. So that is a synchronicity, because here it is. For as long in the United States, pretty much all my US American friends call me V. That is literally the nickname that they come up with. Really? And it's a synchronicity now between you and me, because you didn't know. We never discussed this. You came up with that nickname all on your own. You're like, I'm just going to call her V. So that serendipitous aspect is what makes it a synchronicity.
Yes. I love that. Yeah, I was like, I have a name for her, and it just came out, and it was just like V. That's just like, and it connected, and it felt warm when I call you that. I'm like, I love that name. Yeah. I love that name. And like you said, they can't, like, they come in spurts. For example, I had a phone call from someone, and they called me 3 times, and every time they called, the message was 33 seconds back to back to back. And to see that on my phone, I'm like, whoa.
and that's the other thing, right? Like so you can't force it. If you sit there and going to watch a clock and at 11 and wait for 11 minutes and see 11:11, that is not a synchronicity.
Right.
No. It's that sort of very random aspect of it, and it can be anywhere. It can be on a clock. It can be, and it's not just numbers. So in 28, right? Like in 2018, for me, it was blue whale, specifically blue whale. And I would see pictures of blue whales. I would see like there would be an advertisement for a show about a blue whale, or there would be a clip on my Facebook feed about a blue whale. I kid you not, I walked into World Market one time and in big letters, it was blue whale.
Oh, you're like, what?
Like it's literally the word. So it can be, so it's not just numbers. It can be text, it can be pictures, it can be a license plate, it can be a signage, it can be someone saying it to you, it can be anything. But it's that pattern, like you said, 30, for you it was like 333, the threes when they started showing up. Then you begin to lean into what is going on. There's some deeper significance here. I had to lean into, okay, it's not just whale, it is blue whale. What the heck is it about the blue whale? What do I need to, lean into? What is the spiritual, or what is the metaphorical? These are metaphors. They're energy archetypes and metaphors. So what's the metaphorical significance here? What am I being guided to? That is usually how I end up asking myself, like, what am I being guided to? What do you want me to pay attention to? And give me some more clarity on that. If I'm like, if you're just throwing all these numbers at me and I don't know what the heck you're doing, then give me a more clear.
You forgot one, because when you texted me, you told me that 11:11 was in there too.
I'm like 11:11. I get. So again, like you talked about threes, and so for me, even that, like you, it has been threes for a long time. And so it, again, to go back to it, it's not just the number. Like for you, it was the number 3, but also the fact that it showed up 3 times.
Right. And the message was 33 seconds. I'm like, wow.
So it's all of that. So I saw 11:11:11 for the first time a few days ago, and then I saw 22, 22, 22. So I saw triples of these numbers. Most people don't see triples; they see doubles. They see 11:11, right? Or straight flushes. I think the longest one I've seen is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I literally saw one time only, but I saw it all the way, and it had something to do with money. So let me just say, it made me very happy.
Wow. I've never seen that before. Watch, I'll see it today. I'll be like,
just one time. I was like, seriously, people, can't I have that money magic again? Like,
that I think that you're absolutely wise. So I'm going to pick your brain. So my next question.
And I'm going to tell you that my name literally means, so my entire name, Vidya Ananthanarayanan. Vidya is a Sanskrit word for knowledge or wisdom. And Ananthanarayanan very loosely translates to infinite God. So, hey, you are talking to the infinitely wise goddess. So pick away.
Thank you. I love it. I love it. So when we see these messages, synchronicities, how do we know what they mean? Like, how do we, especially when they're coming as many as you've seen in that day, you're like, okay, which one if you sit down and read for each one what they're about, you'd be confused. How do we know? How do we know
So I don't know if this was your experience when you began. So, but when I began, I wasn't seeing a barrage like this. I was seeing very specific numbers, and that made it easier. And I think that is kind of, they ease you into it. They're kind of nice that way, right? They ease you into it.
Right.
So for me, for instance, in 2017, actually, it's when it began. I remember I was seeing 12:12 and 22:22 over and over. And I was a little upset because everybody was seeing 11:11 and I was seeing 12:12 and 22. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, what's wrong with me? And that self-doubt crept in. Like, what's wrong with me? Am I not as evolved as other people? Like, why am I seeing 12:12 and 22:22? But like you said, I had to sit with it. And I online, Google is my friend, right? I started just looking at diverse resources around it. There is one website, I think it was called Angel Numbers. And, I think it was originally Joanne or Joanna, something like that.
I think I've seen that one. Yeah.
Right. It's the most popular one. That was my starting point. And it was just that once I began to understand and read it over and over till it began to internalize, okay, 11 means this. And so, for instance, 11 now to me means, there are 2 pillars, 1 and 1.
Yeah.
Portal. It's a number of ascension. You're beginning that pathway to ascension. I was at 12, 12, and I'm going 1, 2, 1, 2, like it's not 11, 11. So what's 12 and 12? But 12 and 12, 2 plus 1 adds up to 3.
Wow.
So 3 and 3. So I learned to look at it that way. It's like, okay, it's not 12 exactly, it's 3 and 3. So where in my life am I beginning to see threes or patterns of 3? So it's really about pattern recognition. That's really what this is about.
Yeah.
And I noticed that I was actually seeing 3-digit palindrome numbers back and forth.
Wow.
So 717 or 818 or things like that. So it's a muscle, right? It's like going to the gym. You have to do your reps and you have to train that muscle. You have to program your brain to start thinking a certain way. Neuroplasticity, like this is a great way to build neuroplasticity too and rewire your brain. So for me, that's how it started. Really.
Yeah. I actually have a friend that can see those numbers, like you're seeing those numbers, and add them up, and they come out the same. And I'm like, how did you even think of, like, how did you even?
It just, but I think we all, and again, I think that's the other part of it, right? I think so my connection with Metatron, Archangel Metatron, sacred geometry is very, very strong. It's very, very, like he is, like I joke and say I have my M&Ms in G. So my 3 primary archangels are Michael, Metatron, and Gabriel. So M&Ms in G. My MNMGs or MMGs, and so I think you kind of notice that people will have a certain affinity. So some people will get mostly pictures. Some people will get a lot of animal messages. By the way, do not, if you're walking and boom, a butterfly comes straight at you, that is also synchronicity. That butterfly is coming with a message. Or you're just out in the yard and a bunny rabbit shows up. Okay, that's a message. So it can, kind of you begin to notice what is sort of innate, what comes very sort of innate to you. So like her, that number part might have been something we both do. So our brains automatically start calculating what is 12 and 12 add up to, like blah blah blah. But for somebody else who's very attuned to sort of nature, I'm not very attuned to it, but I don't go out for walks much. It's too hot and humid here. But then it's the same thing. It's just pattern. And you just begin to recognize that if something unexpected is coming your way, that movie, something wicked this way comes. Well, this is something beautiful your way comes. Pay attention. It's unexpected. Why is that butterfly coming at you? Why is that dragonfly showing up?
Yeah, that's, or if you call myself the bug whisperer. Every time I go outside, they land on me. No, they don't harm me or anything like that. Like I'll just sit, and one day a butterfly just literally landed on my knee. And so everywhere I go, there's some type of insect that I've never seen before that comes out. And so now my friends laugh at me because I start talking to them. I'm like, hey, bud.
Absolutely. Why not? Exactly. Everything's energy, right? So that is it. And so you're noticing that pattern. So you've already identified that for you, it comes through the insect kingdom. So now you can go in and look at, hey, what is this significance of? So for instance, butterflies are always about transformation. Right. So, but if a ladybug shows up, then what does it mean to have a ladybug show up? Or when snakes and serpents show up, snakes show up, I go, ooh, Kundalini is rising. This is deep activation. Get ready. This is deep activation going on. So you eventually, once you read up on the stuff and build that body of knowledge within yourself, you will connect the dots.
Yeah, I love that. I have a quote that I wanted to read, and it was awesome when we were thinking about this conversation. And it says, "We do not create our destiny; we participate in its unfolding. Synchronicity works as a catalyst towards the working out of our destiny." Ooh, I love that quote.
Who's
and that's
by
David, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Richo, Richo, or Richo. The Power of Coincidence is the name of the book, and how life shows up as what we need to know. That's good,
check
right?
It out. That is a really nice one. The Power of
Coincidence and how life shows up, what we need to know. And it's true, because after I began to learn the numbers and all of these different synchronicities messages, I memorized them. So when they pop up, I'm like, okay, stop. Whatever you're doing right now, how does this connect with what you're feeling, what you're doing? And so we can get an understanding. Before, I would just like write them down. Oh my goodness, I can't believe, it went through that fun stage. And then I was like, okay, no, this has to be something that's serious and I need to figure out what it is. So I just read, get books, and then try to figure it out. And then when we connected, I was like, this is awesome.
And then you'll get to the next level, because there's a next level where you will, the next level is when you stop thinking about what it is supposed to mean.
Oh, yeah.
And you will lean into what it does mean.
Wow.
Which is a vastly different place.
Yeah, that is a totally different level.
Right? So the essence of it will always be the same. So 1111 showing up will always mean that it's about going through the portal into a pathway of ascension, spirituality, consciousness expansion, whatever you want to call it. Yes, that essence. But what does it mean? What it means for you will be very different from what it means for me, because our lives are so different. We're all uniquely individuated beings. Right. And that is also, to bring it back to Jung, that was also part of what he was talking about, not in the context of synchronicity, but Jung's work in shadow work, which is another term he coined, is about individuation, right? So when we learn to integrate. So it could be that the 1111 showed up to say, hey, there's a part of you that hasn't fully integrated yet. And we are taking you through that journey. So then you stop worrying about what it's supposed to mean, and you get into, what does it mean in the here and the now?
That's good.
That whole unfolding that he just read out in the thing. Which part of my destiny is unfolding right now? And you get to that level. And that's when it becomes really fun.
Wow, I love that. And I want everyone out there to know that this is the first of one of our many conversations that we are going to have, me and today we're talking about synchronicities, and eventually we will go into shadow work, because I'd love to hear more about that on your end. Like I said, she is absolutely wise goddess. And I love it. I love this conversation. So I'm wondering, like, when do you think as a child you had these synchronicities and maybe you didn't notice, or do you remember as a child seeing
I don't remember as a so I don't remember them as synchronicities, but what I do remember as a child is astral traveling. So I would, for instance, I would be, and I was a voracious reader. I started reading very, very young. I think I was about 3 when I started reading. 3 or 4 when I started reading. So very, very young. So I remember, and this would have been more like probably my about 8 or 9, about the time and specifically for some reason I was reading a lot of Zane Grey and Louis L'Amour, so spaghetti westerns kind of books, right? The cowboy stories. And I would remember I could smell gun smoke. I would hear the horses. I would hear the gunshots. Wow. And then somebody would call me and I would kind of look around like, where am I? What's going on? That sort of space of being out of space and time in the present. So not so much synchronicities, but I'm pretty sure. And I used to have severe migraines too. So I'm pretty sure I was astral traveling, but I didn't know.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing that you can remember and go back to that part. I was wondering, I don't remember any messages as a child or like synchronicities, but I do remember people always wanting to talk to me. I think we had that conversation of people always gravitating to tell me what kind of problem they had, even as I was a child and people were adults. And I would just listen, not really fully understanding the issue that they were having, but for some reason I was put there to actually just listen to what they had to say. So that I remember that as a child. And this conversation is just awesome for us to have. I think that is great because it's kind of like a mainstream thing where people see these numbers and it's become like but it's much deeper than that. And so I think it's important that we touch on that subject so people could really get an understanding of what they are. They are synchronicities, but they also are divine, important messages that we need to understand and try to figure out where they're guiding us to be. Yeah.
What there's a quote, and first of all I have to say just thank you for having me, because and I don't want to make clear that this is not coming from a place of ego or arrogance or superiority or anything. Just I had to do my own shadow work, and being 50 plus means that I have a body of wisdom that's accrued now, and I'm able to see some of these things with a perspective and a lens that I didn't have before a few years ago, 2016, 17, when this started. It was all very, very new to me. So it's 7 years of accumulated knowledge and wisdom that's coming out right now. But having said that, I 100% agree. I think there is it is slowly becoming mainstream. And yet what I'm also seeing is that tendency to sort of just look at it from that very superficial top level layer rather than really dig deeper. And that space of digging deeper is individual to each of us, because we're all on our own. To go back to Rico here, where we trust. I really trust we both saying your name right, but
I know, right?
I don't mean to offend.
Everywhere I was like, I don't know if I should pronounce it that way.
It sounds like a Rico to me, so I'm going to say Rico too. But kind of like that, it really is. It is about going into that deeper level and connecting to that space of, and destiny is such a loaded word also, because destiny, for especially in the Western paradigm, and I'm going to use the word conditioning. In the Western conditioning, it's like you have no control. Your destiny means you have absolutely no control, which is the furthest thing from the truth. We all have free will as human beings in the human adventure, in the human experience. I mean, we are all divine beings, but in the human experience, our human experience is made up of a series of choices. Izzi made a choice to connect with me and have this conversation, just as I made the choice. So it is a series. Destiny can't do anything by itself unless I co-create with destiny.
Right.
It's about co-creation. But to co-create, you have to step back and watch what is happening. You have to allow it to play out. You have to be observant and become aware and notice all of those things. And I think it's that space where people just kind of, oh, this is fun, it's exciting, it's a new toy, but they don't want to go in and do the work, because it is work. It is internal work.
My next question before we wrap up, this is a deep one. And synchronicities and dreaming. What are your thoughts on that?
Actually, everything is synchronicity, right? Dreaming is another. So they're all expressions. So to me, whether it's numbers or seeing a particular set of letters and number combination on a license plate over and over, or animals and bugs and butterflies and bears coming at you. I don't know. I just said I was trying to alliterate, but butterflies and badgers. I don't know. Whales, blue whales, butterflies and blue whales coming at you, right? They're all expressions. They're all the tangible, what we call three-dimensional human realm expressions of synchronicity, because our human self, our corporeal self, needs a cognitive hook. Without that cognitive hook, it can't really. We are so disconnected from our cosmic selves, from our divine selves, right? So we need that cognitive hook in order to say, okay, I can hang my hat on this. I can begin to make connections. So dreaming to me is just another layer. And so I will, if I may, nuance a little bit between dreaming versus astral traveling. They're two different things. They're also not the same thing. So I think dreaming is very much a part of that psychological psyche part of that shadow realm. It is different ways, and there is a certain. So it is a form of synchronicity for sure. For instance, they say when you have dreams related to your teeth, it's actually a sign of transformation, because so if you think about teeth, then as children, our milk teeth have to fall out before our adult set can come in. So if you have dreams like that, your teeth it's falling out or being extracted by a dentist, or there's an ache or a pain, it means something in your life has to fall out so that the next one can come in.
Wow. I've had a dream like that, and I woke up like, oh my goodness, like looking for my tooth.
So it had to fall out. That gap had to come in so that the next tooth, metaphorically, they're all metaphors. It's all metaphors and symbols. This is all metaphoric and symbology.
I love that. I love that. And I would say, going back earlier to what you said, the disconnection. I think the disconnection starts in childhood, where we disconnect from, I think children are pushed to not believe and to not imagine and to not dream and I think that's where the disconnection starts. And then we have to go back and reprogram our thoughts and things like that.
I mean, we're at the human level, we are, imprinted. I like the word imprinted. We are imprinted by the time we are 7. That's it. The first 7 years, we are sponges. We take in everything, but we are imprinting. So the next few years to 14 is basically an expression, especially if you think of the age from like 7 to 14, we're just about beginning to hit puberty. Right. So 0 to 7 is like the imprinting stage, but 7 to 14, we begin to get into sort of that physical expression of that imprint. Then like from 15 to, and then so you get into sort of what I would say the adolescent age, you begin to have the sort of emotional expression of that. And then you cross like from roughly like, from about 14 to 21, you're in that late teens, early 20s, you're in that space where you're learning to play that same game, but now you're playing it mentally.
Wow.
It's the same pattern over and over again, over and over again. So the same imprints play out through our lives. And so if we don't come out at the other end of it, integrated and whole, if we haven't, like we've been so programmed and imprinted and conditioned by that point, then yes, we have to come back. And usually that kicks in around what's called Chiron's return, which is about 48. There's a reason it's called the midlife crisis. Because it literally is extreme. So that is literally when it kicks in for all of us. So around 45 to 48, we all start going, ooh, why am I really here? What's really going on? Isn't there more? And that it is very normal. It's very natural. In fact, according to the human design framework, we don't become full adults until we're 50.
Wow.
That's when we hit like emotional maturity, adulthood.
Right. Wow. I'm getting close.
I've transitioned, so
I'm transitioning.
I've transitioned. Like I've transitioned. I'm in my crone/matriarch phase. So I'm transitioned, people. I'm old enough to have a body of wisdom and young enough to still be dangerous because I'm still learning.
Oh, I love you so much. I love it.
But we all go through it. And unravel is such a great word. I love that you said unravel because that's exactly what we end up having to do. To go back in and unravel all those chains that have bound us. And that is shadow work. And that is shit scary. I'm not going to.
I know.
When you have to strip down and get naked with yourself and learn to love those parts of you that you don't love a whole lot and can't accept that, but that's the realm I love working in.
Yeah, it's deep. I think I've seen like a meme once where there was a and it said something about shadow work, how people think shadow work looks and how it really looks. And in the one picture, the girl's beautiful, her hair's like beautiful, you know what I mean? And then in the next picture, her hair's like all messed up and
but the other part of that, it is messy, but I would also say this, that shadow work, the word shadow, again, it's such a loaded word. People immediately think it means all the ugly, not so great parts of ourselves. And I want to point out that that's not shadow. That's not it at all. Shadow simply means, it's like the word occult. The word occult just means hidden. That's all it means. It's knowledge that's hidden. So shadow simply means it's the parts of ourselves that we hide from or are hidden from. And it can even mean something like the inability to take a compliment gracefully, which so many of us women don't. So when somebody says, I love the dress you're wearing, or you look amazing in this, you look great or beautiful in this dress. And we say, oh, this old thing. No, that's a shadow. It's not ugly, but it's a shadow because we can't somehow reconcile the fact that we can actually look pretty and beautiful and gorgeous in whatever we are wearing. So it's not always the sort of flawed side of ourselves. It's just the hidden side of ourselves. That's all it is.
Yeah, I love it. I know we can go on and on. We are I'm happy. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. And I appreciate you coming on. And I'm so excited that we connected. Like out of nowhere, it seems.
Synchronicity.
Here we are. And so I'm very excited that we're going to have more conversations about this. But before we go, I'd like for you to leave something that's on your heart right now, some wisdom that you could leave for our community.
Sure. And because it's video, the best way, I remember I talked about cognitive hooks.
Oh, yeah.
So one of my favorite ways to have a cognitive hook is tarot cards.
Yeah. Nice.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull, and this is interesting because there's a little bit of a story behind. This is the deck I'm using. It's called the Astro Matrix Tarot.
Oh,
I love it because it's got a phoenix on it, and I'm literally in my phoenix phase right now. I'm burning down everything. And if for anybody who's into tarot or familiar with tarot, my life card for this year is Death, which is transformation.
Oh, wow. Right.
Literally, burning down everything.
Right.
But tarot, I love tarot, or even oracle cards. I love these cards because, again, there's a visual representation, right, to connect into. So how about we just my team wants to play today, so they're gonna have fun and show us I knew this was going to come up. So what happened was I was trying to shuffle the cards, and the card just flipped out.
It just fell out. Oh my goodness!
So it's a jumper. So when a jumper, so this is synchronicity. So when a card jumps out like this, it's that hey, pay attention.
Yeah.
And the card that's popped out for us today is the Fool.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna, for those folks who don't really have a background in tarot, I'm just gonna explain this a little bit, right?
Yeah.
This card belongs to something that's called the Major Arcana in tarot. So we have it's a total 78 card deck. There are 22 cards in the Major Arcana, and then whatever.
Yeah.
4 suits with 10 and then 14 court cards, or whatever that number is. But people do the math. Right? Okay. And this is the beginning card of the Major Arcana. And the Fool, to give you a pop culture reference, always invariably reminds me of Indiana Jones in that movie, where he's standing right at that ledge and he has to take that leap of faith. The Fool is that person who just takes that leap of faith. He's ready. He's poised. He's ready to go. Yeah. So if you're tuning in today, then to me, that says that this card has popped up because it says you are standing right at the threshold, at the edge of of some boundary for yourself.
Right.
And this card is saying you have to move past it.
Yes.
Shadow, right? What is the shadow? What is the boundary? Why are you hesitating? What do you need to take that next leap forward into whatever comes? It's the leap into the unknown.
Yeah. I love that.
Right. So it is saying us it's also the beginning of a journey, because it's the beginning of the Major Arcana. So it's the beginning of the journey. And it is that. So it's about leap of faith. It's about trusting your instincts, trusting your intuition, and getting ready to go wherever life takes you next, and not being afraid of the unknown, of ambiguity, of uncertainty. And we are right now in such a major transition. There's so much uncertainty and ambiguity right now. I also kind of noticed that it's, the sun is shining, there's this beautiful dog. It's also a card that to me says, wake up and smell the damn roses.
Right.
Wake up and smell the roses. Stop. Yeah. So that's what it is. It's a wake up call, people. Whatever this oops. We do not want my computer to restart. So we do not. So, but see, restart. Synchronicity. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Synchronicity. That was the perfect example of synchronicity. I could not have
done it on purpose. Right.
Restart.
Yeah.
Restart. So if you've tuned in, I want to say, however we ended, thank you, Izzi, for the privilege of being here, for the privilege of sharing this message, for just, whatever resonates with you today, take it. Whatever doesn't resonate, ignore it and let it go. It simply means it's not time for that message to reach you yet. That's all.
Yes. I love it. Thank you so much, V. Thank you. We appreciate you and so happy that you're part of our community. And we are going to have more talks like this.
Yes, absolutely. I look forward to it. This was
and as we're leaving out, I always like to extend may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live life without suffering and in ease and in peace. And I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, V, for joining me. And we will see you again soon.
We will. Have a good one, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.